Er det satellitten? Hallo? Hallo? Ja.
Yes, cool. Try to tell me about the project.
Yeah, okay.
The Satellite Synthesizer.
The Satellite Synthesizer. I was just trying to get back to thinking about where it started, maybe.
In the middle of the 20th century, for the first time in history, man reached beyond his planet and began to probe the mysteries of space. But the age of space is also the latest chapter in a story as old as man himself. According to myth, Alexander the Great tried for the moon. He used griffins, which flew upward to catch a sheep's carcass, kept always out of reach. An 18th century adventurer thought he could use willpower to get to outer space. Man needs more than this.
But maybe I should just to outline just what it is. It's we made a synthesizer, and it's based on connections to GEO satellites. So GEO satellites are the ones who are the high orbit satellites. Okay. So they are in about 36,000 kilometers distance, like from your Earth. And what we do is that we make a connection to each of those satellites, maybe one or maybe two or maybe three. We just establish connections, and these connections where there is like a noise floor, which means that, I mean, there's just silence, but silence is always a bit of noise. So we just like, you know, continue to raise the volume of the noise floor. So basically speaking, we are raising the noise that is in the system from the transmitters to the receivers to the transmitters to the receivers. It is 36,000 times 2, which is 72,000 kilometers loop. If you're a musician, you probably know, like, just a feedback loop.
30, ja, 47. Så nu skal lige 40.000 km ud i rummet.
Så tilbage igen.
Okay, 870773, er det dig?
Ja, det må næsten være, ikke?
Hallo! Så det her, det er altså satellitkommunikation. You're making a synthesizer in a big open system. So whereas if you take a synthesizer like a traditional one of like an old normal synthesizer, so there's a small chip inside on the board, and that chip is a tone generator, and it's this size. And in there it's generating a tone because it's doing actually the same thing that we are doing on a huge loop, right? So in a way we are opening this, and we are making it 72,000 kilometers long. It's like, I mean, the small chip is fixed, and you give it some numbers, and then it changes, right? But if you open it, which we have done, then it's like, then you can actually, you know, influence the vibrations. And so what we do is that we can, like, you know, also plug a microphone in, and that's how we can have like guest stars. Yeah. With the satellite synthesizer. So then in this show here, so Michaela Petri is coming.
I think today, when everything is so computerized and so technicalized, that you can do everything you want to if you just have the right stuff to do it. I mean, you can even play a complete symphony with all the different instruments if you just have the right computer, and nobody can hear the difference. And therefore I think it's interesting to go one step further and try to see what can I make out of almost nothing. In this case, a piece of wood.
And she's a flute player, like very high, like world famous flute player, and she's coming as our guest star. And when she plays the flute, it will be like her flute sounds will go into the system, and it will affect the whole
transmission.
And I'm really looking forward to hear that and to see what that does. And also to see her what she gets out of it, of knowing that her flute sounds travel 1 million kilometers maybe or more, or you know.
Den her vej. Altså sådan der. Sådan der, ja.
Ja, det var rigtig godt. Nå.
Er det 1700
Nej, jeg tror, det er
euro?
1700.
Det er 1700 euro.
1700 euro. Ja,
Okay, ja, klart. Okay, nå, det er sådan noget der, ja.
Ja.
Jeg sad i hvert fald lige sådan prøvede at hurtigt slå det ind i en lommeregner. Jeg synes, det synes man bliver dyrt i hvert fald. men det kan selvfølgelig også bare være, at vi er helt vildt nære i midten. Altså, så står vi bare og sparer penge. Altså, hvis der tænker
Så det kommer ud i rummet, ikke? Altså, det koster nogle bryn.
Ja.
Hold det på øret.
We talked about that at one time when I was young. I said I didn't care so much for computer world, for computer music and all those things. It is true, I like to keep things simple and I like to see how much I can get out of almost nothing. But in a way it is the same here, I think, because it is very few notes sent over a huge distance coming back. And it is also a way of playing where I have to be very aware all the time. The project demands that I do very little.
Yeah.
So in a way it is also to be very, I don't know what the English word is, very restricted in your means. Yes.
Yeah.
And then there's one more thing about this project. I have to say we haven't tried it yet.
No?
So I'm very looking forward to see what it is, and if it is as I imagine, and probably I will have a completely different experience afterwards. But in my imagination, my first thought when Jonas asked me to do this was that this feeling of putting sound out into space is what I think every musician somehow has whenever he is playing. Especially if you are lucky to be playing alone or be a soloist. But I think also if you play in an orchestra, then the whole orchestra as one unit has this feeling of sending sound in space. And in one way, since I was young, I have felt that every note I was playing would be standing there forever somehow, so that it was a kind of responsibility to at all play and to at all make music. So I'm looking very much forward to see if it is a little like my normal feeling when I'm playing regarding this. And I think it is going to depend on me whether I can keep that openness and not think too much about what is happening with the sound, but just keep open the feeling of the sound coming back to me that I've just created myself, knowing that it has been that far out in space and coming back. Yeah, I look very much forward to try this now.
Cool.
Yeah.